If you are running for Congress, especially if you're running for the first time, it can certainly be helpful if the party gets behind you, but they don't always choose candidates the way you think they might. And possibly the highest thing on their list of priorities is someone who can generate a huge amount of money raised to run their candidacy with. Joining us now to break this down and issues surrounding it, Anita Malik, congressional candidate for Arizona's 6th District. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. Hopefully our connection will work out a little bit better than it did last time. So look, I want to continue talking about an article you wrote, Money Can't Buy Me Votes. We were talking about what you've learned from your previous run about what money can and can't actually do. For people who might not have seen our first time, could you just briefly summarize what you were getting at with your article?
Sure. I really believe we need to get the money out of politics like so many people do. However, I think that we're looking at this as some big legislative thing that needs to happen, overturning Citizens United. And of course, that's all important. But we also need to look at what I learned in 2018, how are we spending money as campaigns and why is it costing so much? Why is the donor class truly so small in this country and we're eliminating the voices of other people? And I think it's because we've really bought into a notion of expensive, overpriced consultants coming out of DC, TV ads, which research proves don't work. And that combination has really come down to a point where we're spending this money and making it a race about money and a race to raise rather than really the voice of the people in these different districts and different areas.
So one thing that's always frustrated me about this is not just that the party wants candidates who are gonna raise a ton of money, but they also want candidates who are going to spend that money in very particular ways, some of which you just listed, including hiring on these campaign consultants and buying expensive TV ads. And of course, we know that many of the people who are pushing for this inside the Democratic Party are not entirely disconnected from these people who are then going to profit off these candidates. And again, they'll profit whether the candidate wins or loses. So like going forward, is that a sustainable system? This sort of like it's, if not legally corrupt, it's certainly inherently corrupt and not ideal in terms of producing the best electoral outcomes.
Right, and I think it's also a symptom of this divisiveness, or actually one of the reasons we have this divisiveness in our country. And if we continue to make money the focus, we're only perpetuating that. Because again, it's those people that are profiting off these campaigns, those people that are able to donate, that are setting the agenda in DC. That class, is really setting the tone and creating that continued divide, I believe, because on both sides will just continue to put money at the problem, leaving out the average American, the average voter that can't put in, max out to a campaign, that doesn't have that say because it's come down to money. So it's not sustainable. It's not good for our democracy. It's something extremely hard to fight if you want to kind of model what I'm trying to do, which is publicly funded elections. But if you're going to get in, I believe you need to get in the right way so that you can then go to DC and legislate for those things without having that burden of being beholden to anybody.
So you mentioned there how hard it is to fight for this, but I'm curious in what forms that difficulty is manifesting. Is it difficult because people are suspicious about public financing, they have a lack of understanding of how it would actually look, or is there significant pushback from the many different people who are benefiting from the way the system has been run?
It's definitely not suspicion in the part of voters and people here on the ground. We've found with independent voters in particular, they understand. Not everyone knows the rules and the regulations with campaign finance, but they know that the money is the issue. It's why we are here as we are in this country today, is because of the money in politics. So we have found this to actually be something that people are embracing, but the pushback, what makes it hard, is from the people in DC that have decided that you need to raise money, otherwise we're gonna try to shut you out as a candidate. And I've seen that now. This is my second cycle where I'm going through that in a much more aggressive form this time for sure. But definitely, we've been here before. We proved something in 2018 that money isn't only what it takes. It's about community building. It's about thinking outside the box and really reaching voters on the ground. But yet again, the establishment's decided to turn their backs on us.
And so you mentioned there that it's coming in a more aggressive form, this race, compared to last one. So tell me more about that.
So the DCCC has publicly come out, and I'd say we've known this for a while. It's kind of nice that they're admitting it finally, but it does hurt us. They've publicly come out and endorsed, put on the red to blue list, my primary opponent, who truth be told, can't vote for herself, doesn't live in this district, is a great candidate, would do much better than the Republican incumbent. But at the end of the day, came into this district as a effort of the establishment to bring someone in to what is now a targeted district because of the work that we did last cycle that can raise the money. Because again, for them, it's about the money and saying, we're gonna target it. Why not help Anita, the former nominee? No, let's bring someone else in that will play along with the money game.
Yeah, so it's got to lead to some mixed feelings. They obviously appreciate in some form the work that you did, but not in a way that actually benefits you. So I can see how that would be frustrating.
Right. Yes, for sure. And it's not about me. It's really about the movement of people. And we had an incredible volunteer grassroots movement here in a district that no one really paid attention to in 2018 or previously. And so it was about the people. And the people have said, look, this is what we don't want to start over building name ID with a new candidate. We don't want to, we did this together. And it's really insulting actually to the voters of the district.
Just brief, and I apologize if this comes out of nowhere, but as you're talking to people about the way that people have to raise money, how much money they need. The elections are getting more and more expensive. We're in a context right now where Mike Bloomberg has apparently already spent like $500 million and is likely to spend even more. Is that a thing that people are talking about what that might represent as like the perfect crystallization of how much money is going to these elections right now?
Right, it's definitely on people's minds on both sides, right? We see that there are people that see this as, we hear it's the electability factor, we've got to do anything we can against Trump, and then there's the people that say we're just perpetuating the problem. And I think at the presidential level, that's where people are torn. It's the Trump factor here, and we're definitely hearing that. And but what is terrifying to a candidate like me and to people I think all the way down the ballot is, what is that precedent setting that we can buy our way into elections? Because again, we're perpetuating the problem. We continue to do this, we'll continue to be in that situation.
Yeah. And Anita, where can people find out more about your candidacy?
AnitaForArizona.com.
Okay, and thank you as always for joining us. Hopefully we can check in a little bit further on in your race.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.